Then
Just to
I
stop you, Alan,
decided.
I quite like how this is getting built up as some big, massive event that has actually happened. It's like,
I
then,
know. So then
then,
what happened? But then, as I
then.
say,
Good morning, good afternoon, night. That's the one. And good
do you want to
evening.
roll it back? Do I roll it back?
It's all right, mate. We may as well just crack on because that has been the main theme of the whole day, an absolute mess. Yes, welcome back to the Since I Was Young podcast, all things Heart of Med, loving news, chat, and debates. Your host, as always, is myself, Ewan, and Alan. Alan, how are you doing? Fine, sir. You all good?
Aye, all things considered, I'm not too bad. Considering what we've just had to sit down and watch for the last hour and a half.
Aye, it was a bit of a like you know, we said literally before we started recording and last week, not even bothered the slightest about this game. It could be any score you want, and literally as soon as the game started, I was like, no, we have to win this game. No, fuck that. No. Fucking absolutely.
I know.
But anyhow, as Alan just mentioned there, that's going to be our main topic. It'll be the review of the League Cup game, which was against Heart, Celtic and Hearts, if you want to get right about it, and it ended in a 3-2 defeat to Celtic. No, to Hearts. See, mess, absolute fucking jumbled mess.
I was going to say, this is what happens when we sit down
Aye.
and record just after the game's finished. You see, this is why we usually take our time.
Exactly, mate. But exactly. So, in a nutshell, Hearts lost. So there you go. So yeah, we're going to be going into a bit of depth about that later on in the episode. And as always, as well, we'll have Alan's news segment. We've got a few things to touch on concerning John Souttar's future at the club. We've also got an update on season tickets as well as capacity as well for future games at Tynecastle. But as always, before we start off, guys, if you are a Hearts fan, please think about subscribing and smash that like button as well. All of the subs and the likes are always appreciated, guys. Just keep those likes and those subscriptions on their way, and it's really appreciated. Also, if you want to get in contact with us, you can. Our links to our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter are all on screen and in the description, all at SIWY Pod. And alternatively as well, if you want to get in contact with us through email, you can do that as well. It is at sinceIwasyoung1874@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to get in touch with us personally as well, you can. Alan's Twitter is in the description, as well as my YouTube channel, What Ewan's Doing. So, Alan, as I just said there, we have a small update on the future of our beautiful centre-back, John Souttar.
Yes, it was an article in the Evening News a few days ago that the club have opened talks with John Souttar over a new contract. I think it's vital that we get him tied down before January, to be honest. Before Christmas, hopefully. He's just such a baller at the back. Like,
asset as well, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think as well, like I said it to yourself, the sheer number of players that are in the last year of their contract, it's good that we're making progress with it now. As I say, it's vital that Souttar gets a new contract, because I can tolerate them letting Andy Irving leave for nothing. I can tolerate them letting Harry Cochrane leave for nothing. But if that happened with Souttar, there would be riots on the streets of Cork.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, you could probably argue that he's the one player out of the long list of players that we have got out of the contract at the end of the season, that he's the one that you probably want to tie down first.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think the list was like Michael Smith, Kingsley, Gordon, Souttar, Halliday, Alex Cochrane, it's a whole bunch of players that are obviously very important to the system. So yeah, but I mean, it's nice that Souttar is the first one that we know of. Obviously, there was the article about Michael Smith saying that he's got an extension clause in his contract if he plays a certain number of games. So considering he's our starting right back, I would imagine he'll play the number of games to trigger that automatically.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I was really, really pleased to see Suter. I just hope that he wants to stay and he feels that he wants to repay us and give us something back, because we've stuck by him through injuries and things. So yeah, it's small news but positive nonetheless.
Yeah, no, man, exactly. Absolutely. I mean, like I said, I think obviously as a full team right now, I think just looking at it as from the business sort of at the point of view, obviously he would probably be our biggest asset in terms of if we do intend, and we'll probably intend to sell him on if the price is right, which as it stands right now, obviously you've got to take into account his pass through injuries as well, but as it stands now, if he were to get a lot more games sort of under his belt and stay fit throughout the whole the campaign, I wouldn't even put it past getting at least 5 the million easy.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, he's got to sign the contract first, but yeah, I think that you wouldn't be far off that, to be honest, because he's just a quality defender, and yeah, like you say, he probably is our most valuable asset at the moment, considering his age as well. He's still got a good few years in him. So, but no, hopefully that doesn't happen, and hopefully he signs a contract and stays for the foreseeable future.
Definitely, man. Definitely. So yeah, concerning as well, we've got a wee update on season tickets as well. Have we now surpassed the amount that we can now sell now in terms of in terms of the season tickets now, or?
I'm not sure what the maximum amount is, to be honest. Maybe there's a listener out there that'll be able to give us that information, or I might ask on Twitter later on. But yeah, the latest update from the club is that we've sold over 12,000, which is amazing.
Beautiful.
Is more than our Edinburgh neighbours, and they started selling 2 weeks before us. So, Edinburgh's big team and all that. But yeah, no, it's nice to see fans obviously have an appetite to get back, and I think considering it's been 18 months for some people that haven't been able to get to a game, to have the opportunity to get back to Tynecastle is obviously massive, and people can't wait to get back in.
Absolutely, man. You and me both. I have literally, even without actually getting one yet, I have literally already booked the 14th of September off, which you'll probably know what date that is as well. I'm going to go through hell or high water. I'm going to that game. Fling me air. I really don't care. I will be there.
We'll figure something out. It's a frustration, obviously. Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things. We've said it before.
Stop dancing about it. We'll be there.
Even no, absolutely.
We have to climb up the fucking light.
Do you know what? It's one of those. We've said it before. I'd love to get a season ticket, and I'm sure you would as well. But logistically, it doesn't make sense. With working, etc. But I'm delighted that we've sold 12,000, and hopefully we'll maybe sell a couple more thousand. I don't know, but
who knows?
It'd be interesting.
Yeah, definitely, man.
All
definitely,
good. All good.
Definitely. And also one last point. As we said, as well, Alan, do you want to put a bit of light on the capacity sort of aspect as well?
Yeah, so this was actually quite great timing from Hearts and the Since I Was Young podcast. It seems every time we put an episode out, a fairly major bit of news gets announced either the same day that the episode is recorded and we miss it, or the day we release the podcast. So yes, just for reference, episode 15, 24 hours later, we announced Benny Beningami's signing, which was great. And then episode 16, the day of release, literally, I think an hour or two before the video was released, the announcement came from the Edinburgh City Council that due to the lifting of COVID restrictions, full capacities are allowed back in football stadiums. Fairly major talking points that a podcast could have really used, to be honest. But yeah, so we're getting there now. We're a week late, but we're getting there.
reliable as ever, aren't we?
Oh yeah, this is the best place to come for all the latest breaking news, lads.
Get it first.
Just in case you've forgotten about it,
Aye.
essentially.
Aye.
Yeah, basically the capacities have been lifted now, and to that end as well, Hearts have announced that we've given Aberdeen 1,300 tickets for the game against them next week. So that'll be interesting. I mean, unfortunately, I can't get to the game because I'm working, funnily enough, but I'm sure the atmosphere is going to be amazing.
Bouncing.
You know, first full stadium and away fans as well. You know, it's going to be massive. I think the best example of that is the Hibs Motherwell game that was it last week? Yeah, they had away fans there, and like Hibs obviously came back from behind and ended up winning the game. So it shows you the impact that fans can have on the games. And you know, as I say, it's just nice to see that the stadium's going to be full, away fans are going to be there. It almost just feels normal again, and it feels like we're getting back to that. And I think, especially off the back of today's result, fans will be almost. I'm not demanding an Aberdeen Hearts win, but it's a vital game now. It becomes massive now. So yeah, the fans I hope will drive the team on, and I'm sure that they will.
Definitely, man. As always. Well, thank you very much for the news segment, Alan. Always appreciated, my man, for all the latest up-to-date news, as we've just proven. So we're going to move swiftly on to the game that was held today. But by the time you're already watching this, it'll be from yesterday. Obviously, we played in the League Cup against Celtic, and it ended in a 3-2 defeat. So yeah, as I said at the start, mate, literally right up until the game actually started, I wasn't bothered a fuck. But then it started, and then I thought, no, it is a must win. Absolutely must win. What were your first thoughts throughout the first half, Alan? I know we've pretty much got a shared sort of opinion on it, but what were your thoughts for the first sort of 20 minutes, mate?
Yeah, like you say, we have a very similar opinion on it. I'll go back to even the starting lineup. When I saw that, it was one of those, I was like, okay, he's starting this game how we finished it against them at Tynecastle, with the 3 in the midfield and 2 up front. But the issue that I have with it, and so it proved to be, the system playing 5 at the back like that invites the pressure onto you straight away, and it did. You could see it. We had 5 at the back, and it was a 5.
It was a 5.
Yeah, we've played it at Tynecastle, and it's been 3 at the back with Smith and Cochrane on the wing back positions, but that was a flat back 5. There was no Smith and Cochrane couldn't get forward. That was a flat back 5, and the 3 in front of them were. This is frustrating for me. Benny, Haring, and Halliday. I rate them all as individual players. I really do, but they are all incredibly similar. And defensive minded. Now, did Robbie set up to sit in and defend and not get battered, as is typical Robbie Neilson fashion to do when we go to Glasgow?
Yeah,
possibly, but that 11 had next to no creativity in it.
No. So, I get in, because like you said, those 3, the only one that I would maybe expect out of the 3 of them would be, was it the Benny to have some sort of, was it the creativeness about him, but even then, as a full team, we sat so far back throughout the first the whole game, and like you said as well, mate, that just divided Celtic to actually come at us constantly. And when you put it down onto the paper as well, with having a flat 5 at the actual back, in Beery, you shouldn't really have gaps, like, for them to actually get through, but they were like literally left, right, and center. They just kept getting through, countering constantly. And yeah, like I didn't really see Ivor Smith or the Cochrane like sort of get past the halfway line.
No, no, they didn't. I think just on your point about playing the spaces and stuff, Celtic did that incredibly well.
Yeah.
Their movement off the ball, their passing, it was all one touch. It was quick. They were finding each other. They very rarely played a pass the wrong direction, or they very rarely failed to find a teammate. Whereas we looked like a team full of strangers every time we had even a touch of the ball. But yeah, that's the thing with the system that we played, and I'll keep going back to it. Boyce, there were points when Boyce was winning the ball on the edge of the box, on our box, and there's nobody running ahead of him because that's what Ginnelly does. It's that's the issue. But Celtic, to be fair to them, look a hell of a lot better than they did when we played them a couple of weeks ago. And I think that, without turning this into some sort of Celtic praising podcast, because I absolutely will not do that, they look far better and they look far more organized. They still have a dodgy defense though, but we didn't get anywhere near testing them for the whole for the whole first half, not even the first 20 minutes. Like, no, we just not at all. We couldn't get in the game. But Celtic did what they needed to do, and obviously Parkhead, the size of the pitch is massive. They played it perfectly, and we were camped in, and like you say, we couldn't get out.
Yeah, no, Alan, because like when you text me, throughout the first 20 minutes, I think it was, and I totally agreed with what you actually said. Celtic got into a groove really, really quickly, which, for Hearts, for God knows how long, we've never been sort of able to settle into a game quickly. It's always either been we do, but then that rarely lasts for about 20 minutes or something, or we take so long to actually try and get into like a group, and then by that point the game is gone.
Oh, it did. I mean, I sent you a message after, what was it, 15 or 16 minutes, saying, is it half time yet? Can we
I know.
Can we stop?
I know you
for
did.
15 minutes? So can we have a break?
I felt the exact same.
But then obviously, I mean, and you're talking about the passing from Celtic. I think the perfect example of that was the first goal. We got caught out, and a couple of quick passes. I think it was Kyogo, who I was very impressed with, by the way. I think he looks an absolute player.
He does.
And then he plays a lovely ball to Forrest. I think it was maybe Suter or Halkett that it totally took out the game. It might have even been both of them, to be honest. Right. And then Forrest just cuts it back, and Edouard's not missing that. I don't care how good Craig Gordon is, he's not saving that. It was literally right in front of him. So, yeah.
Even if he is a dirty diving cheating bastard, by the way, saying that got off my nut and all that.
Oh, mate, honestly.
I genuinely know it sounds like we're just trying to find pieces to say, oh, but that happened and this happened. But just solely on that dirty diving bastard. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Look, if he'd won a penalty for that, I would have been absolutely fuming. But equally, I wouldn't have been surprised, to be honest.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, what's he doing? Suter just, like, it's a tiny wee touch, okay, but he goes down like he's been shot. You're like, come on, lad. But no, I mean, the goal they scored was, I think the goal they scored was exactly what Postecoglou wants his Celtic team to do. That quick movement, that passing, and it's easier for them to do it at Parkhead than it is to do it away from home.
Yeah, I mean, I have kind of got this, like a few times, do you think, not like, it's not a thing that I'm trying to put on us when we play away from home, but do you think that kind of plays like a tiny part into it because Tynecastle's pitch is relatively smaller? Do you think that kind of maybe plays a part into it when we do go to other stadiums like that, and in terms of the way that we kind of have the mindset where it's tight to the pitch, it's not that big, Do you think that maybe kind of plays a part in it, or?
I think it does. I think it does to a part. I think that's probably why he went with the system he went with. I think if he'd played the 3-4-3 from the start today, we would have got absolutely slaughtered. But it's one of those. I mean, we said it last week, and I said it, that the result doesn't bother me. I just want to see us having a go. The biggest frustration for me is that we didn't have a goal. Certainly not until the second half, anyway. But yeah, the pitch. Going back to it, the pitch certainly makes a difference. Celtic in the first game of the season at Tynecastle, okay, it was a lot of new players and new system, new manager, etc. But we didn't let them have the space at Tynecastle, so they couldn't play that way. But at Parkhead, obviously, it's a massive surface, and they were passing it around for fun. There was a moment in the game that Joe Hart had the ball and he passed it out to Rogic. I think it was a good 35-yard pass, and not a single Hearts player gets anywhere near it. And I'm thinking, how's that allowed? First of all, how's that allowed? Why is nobody pressing that? Why is nobody cutting that out? But yeah, the pitch certainly makes a difference. And obviously the Celtic support made a big difference too. I mean, I didn't actually message you this, but when you hear like our new players, Benny and Ginelli as well, talking about, hearing 5,000 fans at Tynecastle was mind blowing. Going to Parkhead, okay, they're Celtic fans, so they're not cheering for you, but that's a massive, massive crowd. That's probably the biggest, comfortably the biggest crowd that a lot of the Hearts players will have played in front of. So that would have had an effect as well. But yeah, we just really struggled to get going, and that was a worry. The second goal, I mean, I don't know if you've got anything else to add before I go about that.
I will add to it, but I'll let you explain the second goal, and then there are a few sort of red players from us that I do want to get my teeth into, so I won't bring that whole just yet. So please, mate, to carry on.
Yeah, just the second goal is everything that I absolutely cannot stand about defending. It's a quick corner. We totally switch off. We're not set at all.
So lackluster, I know.
And I hate that. It's the same with offside decisions. I mean, you don't get them so much now, obviously, with VAR and everything, but I absolutely hate seeing a player stop and letting somebody run off him and just assuming he's offside. And corners are exactly the same. The ball goes out. Celtic have the initiative to go, right, they're not set, we're going to take it quickly. And they whip it in, and the boy Walsh gets ahead of Haring and sticks it in the net. And it's just so simple. It's so easy. And that is why it's so annoying to concede a goal like that. We shouldn't be conceding a goal like that. It really angered me when it went in. I was like, that is a cheap goal that we've just given them. Okay, I know, man, exactly. By that point, they probably should have been about 3 or 4 ahead anyway, but it was only 1. And then we give them that, and you're just thinking, what the fuck? It's just so easy.
I know, especially literally, I think it was only 3 minutes after they scored the first goal. I mean, it was just those are just simple things, simple basic things, just there's no much there's not much to actually say, but it's just so simple. Just be vigilant, be aware all the time, because like you said, that is a prime example. And like I said, it's just so basic, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it really was. And I mean, Michael Stewart made some brief attempt to try and say it was offside, but it wasn't. It was not offside by a mile.
It was quite strange. I almost found myself agreeing with a lot of what he did say throughout the whole game. Strangely enough, I was like, "Fuck, he's actually made some sense there." Eh? I mean, to be fair, I would probably rather him if in comparison to somebody who was on the actual. It was Chris Sutton, mate. I would be putting that fucker on mute. He was on the commentary. By fuck. Oh, Celtic are back. Celtic are 10 in a row. Oh, get to fuck yeah, muppet. Honestly, I know he's a massive the wind up as well, but he gets he gets underneath my skin. Honestly, it's disgusting. Disgusting.
Oh no, he does. He's that way though, isn't he? That's why he's in that job. Like he just pokes people for a reaction. That's what he does, and
No,
triggers
exactly.
triggers people for reactions. But no, then and then I mean, halftime came, and what
Yes.
I mean, you said you wanted to slaughter some players, so fire away.
Not slaughter. Not slaughter, but you got a bit of stick. Then through my own sort of agreement is, well, you felt as if you had to apologize for it, which I didn't think I actually should. And yeah, granted, I may be sounding like sort of like, overly serious, but fuck it, I don't care. Yeah, the whole team didn't really give a good performance. I said the only three players that I thought actually did all right, throughout the sort of circumstances of the actual performance itself was the boys. Fair enough, he didn't get a lot of chances, but that was down to the service that he wasn't actually getting. If I had to put like a man of the match for us, well, I would probably put the Benny. Even though the whole team didn't play well, I thought he actually did all right. For the few times that he did have the ball as well, again. Yeah. He was quite calm, quite had to come at the pose as well. So I thought he did all right, in that respect as well. Going into the second half, I thought all had to be it for, if it was only for 5 or 10 the minutes, I thought he changed it for Hearts a wee bit, he gave us a bit of creative sort of flair. But yeah, one player that kind of stood out in terms of the performances was unfortunately Haring. Even for the first half, yeah. I know you pointed out that granted he does love himself a slide to tackle, but the 4 that I saw him do, it just looked reckless, and it looks sloppy as well. Like, if you're going to put in a sliding tackle, you have to know that you are going to win that ball. Throughout those tackles that he did, I wasn't really impressed as well. And again, it's not his fault, but the more ability thing, I know I've said it quite a few times, but it's still a huge thing for me. To be honest, I don't think it's entirely his fault. I think in general, ever since he came back from his injury, he's not really been the same sort of the player. Again, I don't think that's his fault, and I still think that he is like a good asset to actually have, but there's just something about him that just doesn't doesn't really fill me with confidence for these sort of the bigger games. If it were to come to games for example Dundee, stick him in, but he doesn't, from my own sort of the point of view, he doesn't just really feel like a big game sort of at the player now. I might be totally off it, but I mean, I just did want to kind of get your thoughts on him as a whole now.
Yeah, I think you're right on quite a lot of what you say, to be honest. I think Peter Haring struggled today because of, and I'm going to keep going back to it, but because of the amount of space that he had to cover in the middle of that park. That's, like you say, his mobility. He's not as quick as a Benny off the mark. There was a moment, and you were talking about slide tackles as well, but there was a moment that Benny's running back and his recovery, the slide tackle. I think it was on Edouard, or maybe not. It might have been on that Kyogi guy. It was in the box.
Which one you actually mean? Yeah.
It was in the box anyway. And Benny gets back and makes an unbelievable slide tackle. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's what you want. That's Peter Haring doesn't do that. When Peter Haring is slide tackling, it's to try and break up the play. It's to try and win give away a cheap foul, or stop them from breaking. But yeah, I think Peter Haring struggles on a big pitch. I think that's what it comes down to. I think at Tynecastle, again, because the game's tighter, because the midfield is more compact and the opponents are probably more in your face, Peter Haring has the time to pick a pass and win the ball.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not going to go as far as saying I don't think he's a big game player, because I think his influence and his experience and his maturity as well are important in these games. But he didn't have his best game today. He didn't have his best game today by any stretch of the imagination. Benny, on the other hand, he was everywhere. He was absolutely everywhere. And if that is the sort of midfielder that Robbie wants, I'll be delighted about that. And if this Cameron Devlin boy, who apparently might be flying into the country in the next 10 days or so, if he's of a similar mould to Benny, then I'll be happy with that. But going back to Haring, I love Peter Haring. I think he's an unbelievable player.
Mate,
and I think
absolutely, yeah, no.
Like you say, in the right circumstance, he's the perfect player.
Yeah.
Bringing him off the bench, like Robbie did against Celtic in the league game. Bringing him on changes the game, affects it positively. Starting today, not entirely sure, but the midfield three in general, I don't think worked.
No.
Why No, on you go.
Yeah, I know, but it's just to kind of put like a bit of sort of the context as well, but because it said it does sound like every week I won't say it like a bad thing about him, but Halliday his he got battered up and down the park, he got battered, which I think was the right thing for him to come off at halftime. He just 100%. He just wasn't there at all. I mean, I'm not saying for 1 second that, like I said beforehand, concerning Haring, I want him in the team, but there's just things about his game which are fantastic as well, but for certain sort of kind of games where we said as well, at the start, where Hearts have a tendency not to start incredibly quick, and we always kind of slowly build ourselves into the game. And if this Cammy Devlin is kind of the same mold as the Benny, that's where we kind of have to actually look forward in that sense. And I will include Halliday as well, but I don't tend to include him as much, because he could just as easy go and try to let the wing back as well. Haring could, like you said last week as well, could probably sit in a more central defense role as well. But from my view, and we've not really seen that yet. I don't think so. I feel bad for him, and I also say I feel bad as well saying bad things about him, because I think he's great. But sorry, man.
I was just gonna move on to another player, based off of what you've just said there. I don't like saying bad things about Michael Smith, but I don't think he was very good today either.
No,
but I think a large part of that again is down to the system that we played. I think Michael Smith and Ginnelly have an understanding down that right hand side. They work well together, and when he's not there, Michael Smith is the width in that back five. And as much as I love Michael Smith, and as much as I enjoy watching him running up and down the flank, he's knocking on a bit. He can't do all that running himself, and that's why Ginnelly works well next or in front of him, and we saw that in the second half. Obviously, halftime, Robbie changed the system, brought Halliday off, brought on Gino, switched to a back four with, it would have been Benny and Haring in the midfield. And then he had Gary Mackay-Steven, Ginnelly and Cochrane on the left wing behind Boyce. And straight away from the start of the second half, we looked like a competent football team. We actually looked like we were there to play a game of football rather than just run around after one.
Very brief 5 minutes. Yeah, we did. a very brief 5 minutes.
But that's the thing. And I put something on Twitter earlier on because I wasn't sure. But apparently the reason that Ginnelly didn't start is because he was unwell during the week. He had an illness,
Fair
apparently. So I can understand again why he doesn't start him. But, the second half, as I say, the system change, we looked a bit more direct and we looked a bit more like, okay, right, we're 2-0 down.
We may get something out of this year.
Yeah, we're not going to, if we're going to go down, we're going to go down swinging, basically. And it worked for the most part. Ginnelly instantly made an impact when he came on. I think it was 5 minutes into the second half. He's got the ball down the wing and gets in the box. And that Starfeld, who I've still yet to be convinced by from Celtic, puts his arms around him and Gino falls to the floor. It wasn't a penalty. It would have been a very soft one had it been given, but Gino appeals for it because, of course, he does.
Aye, man, of course.
But yeah, it was just nice to see us actually trying something and actually going forward and saying, right, okay, let's actually try now. But the fact is we were 2-0 down when we decided to start trying, that's when it breaks down and gets a bit annoying.
Aye.
But,
I know, man, exactly. I mean,
no.
I mean, just like sort of from the events that sort of unfolded from that, obviously not long after Gino sort of went down, we actually did get ourselves the penalty, which I've got no sort of the question about it. Was it like a penalty? Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Massive shout to Suter. The ball that he plays in behind, that diagonal pass. Is there anything that Suter can't do? Let's be honest here. That ball was unbelievable. And into the space, Ginnelly gets on the end of it and cuts it back for Boyce, who I think it was Starfeld again, actually. It might have been somebody else, but I feel like it was him again. Boyce just comes in off his shoulder. Starfeld sticks a foot out and Boyce does what every good striker would do, gets himself in a position and goes over. So, I mean, great penalty. Great move to win the penalty. Gave us a bit of hope, and Boyce scores. It's becoming quite a common thing that Liam Boyce is scoring goals, and I'm absolutely delighted about that.
Absolutely, mate. I mean, I think that's his fifth this campaign as well, and he's already. I think it's fifth. I may be wrong.
Either 5 or 6. 5 or 6.
Anyway. So he's already a quarter of the way of his own sort of personal target, as well. So I think that's absolutely fabulous. And then I don't know if it was about 5 the minutes on that they go on and they score the third goal. The young boy. Furuhashi, is that his name? Again, I do apologize if I've misspelled that wrong. But yeah, he does well to kind of put it in, and put a goal. I did kind of toy. I mean, I would never dare say it ever, but I did kind of toy with your idea that could that have been Gordon's first error? I thought at first because it, it maybe looked as if it might have maybe just clipped the outside of the post, but instead of what it actually does, it almost kind of deflected off of the Gordon's right hand, and then it ends up going in. But I think for the most part, it might have just sort of slid in. But it happens. It happens.
Okay, I mean, it's one of those, and I messaged you just as it happened, because you said to me, is that an error from Gordon? And I says, well, for us, it's easy to see it because you see the replay and you go, yeah, that looks like it's going wide. But Gordon at that point doesn't know that. He doesn't know that potentially goes wide. But it's one of those, if Gordon hits that, or if that gets hit at Gordon another 10 times, he saves them all.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the boy hit it with some power as well. It wasn't like a wee toe punt, he properly put his foot through it. So it was a cracking little finish, to be fair. But it was just so frustrating again, because obviously we've just scored a penalty. You're starting to think, right, we don't deserve to be still in this game.
No.
But on the scoreline, it's only 2-1, and you're thinking, right, that's what we needed. We needed to get the third goal. If we were going to get anything out of the game, or we were going to even try to get back into it, it was vital we got that third goal in the game. And obviously you get the penalty and you start thinking, right, this is it. We've arrived. We've turned up finally. It's taken us about an hour, but we're here. And then 5 minutes later, you're like, all right, well, that'll be that then.
Yeah, like
yeah.
literally, like almost like it was weird because I literally just kind of just shot right back down, like you said as well. Like I got that tiny bit of hope, that minuscule tiny bit of hope, and then it was done. So I was like, all right, okay, sound.
I know it's just frustrating, really, isn't it? But what do you do? I mean,
what can you do?
They've got that quality to be able to do that. That's the thing.
No, man, exactly. I mean, again, throughout the rest of the second half, I mean, it was pretty much the same as the first half. Like, we did start to get a bit more sort of higher up the pitch, like, have a way bit more sort of the width and that, like, in the actual sort of the pitch itself. But like, in the end, it didn't do us like sort of that well. We made two other subs, which was to bring McInniff and also Jamie Walker as well. Again, like, I mean, they didn't really do much, but in the end, we did make the scoreline a tiny bit more respectable. Obviously, we'll go into like an explanation about it, but to put it kind of lightly, you were fucking raging, weren't you? Absolutely raging. Would you like to explain to our glorious viewers why that was?
No, I wouldn't.
You want to like explain it? Go on. I'll just stay quiet.
as regular listeners will know, at the end of each episode, we do a preview for the next week's game, and we do our predictions for said game. Now, if you watched last week, I said I predicted 3-1 to Celtic, with Liam Boyce to score for Hearts.
And just before you carry on, I put a 1-0 win Hearts. Fucking go me, son. Anyways, please, sorry, carry on.
So after we stopped recording the last episode, as is somewhat of a tradition for me at the moment because it's done me well so far, I went on to Sky Bet, and Celtic 3, Hearts 1. Now, this is last week, remember, was sitting at 10-1. And I thought,
right, again,
a couple of quid on that, why not, right? Now, I'm sure that's going to trigger lots of people who say, oh, you shouldn't bet against your own team, blah, blah, blah. I never normally do. If Hearts are playing, I will always put money on Hearts. But this game, when I said 3-1, I thought, let's just have a look, see what it is. I mean, £2 is the price of a coffee that I'll buy before work. I'm not going to cry if it's whatever scoreline. Anyway, 3-1 with 5 minutes to go. Now, I posted it on Twitter. I was gloating about it, saying, well, at least there's a silver lining. £20 in, at least that pays for the pints. Then,
just to stop you, Alan, I quite like how this is getting built up as some big, massive event that has actually happened. It's like, then...
I know.
Then...
what happened? But then, as I said... But then what happens, right? Then what happens? The stream that I'm watching decides to start buffering, so I have no idea what's going on. And I'm thinking, right, 3-1, that's it, it's finished. Now...
Sorry for laughing. I feel bad.
Honestly, mate, I'm laughing now. I was about to throw my phone out the window when it happened, but anyway. So my stream's buffering, and I'm thinking, you know what? I'm just going to turn it off. We've lost 3-1. At least I've got my winnings. That's fine. So I load up my laptop to note down some thoughts for this podcast, and then my phone buzzes at me, and it's a Twitter notification. And I'm thinking, that'll be the full-time score, confirmed 3-1. Great, happy days. Look at my phone, and it says McKenneth. Just a wee notification, McKenneth. And I thought, what's he done? I thought, has he been sent off? Like, what's happened? So I load it up. He's only gone and scored a goal. So not only did I miss the goal because I wasn't watching it, which is great for a podcast where you're supposed to review games and goals, by the way. That's the equivalent of walking out early. So not only did I miss a goal, I lost out on a winning bet that I was gloating about on Twitter 5 minutes before. So that teaches me for betting against Hearts. So yeah, thanks, Aaron.
Lesson learned, mate. It's okay. So yeah, after I mean, to be
So
honest, mate,
you're gonna have to explain the third goal, because the second goal, because I missed it.
I mean, to be honest, what I was about to say, instead of calling it the Celtic Hearts game review, we could probably call it like Alan's fucking raging or something like that. Kind got to draw those fucking the beers in.
Oh,
So
mate.
so again, it was played out on the left hand side. I think it was from Smith. I don't know if it took a deflection as it came off of McInnes's foot, and I think it kind of deceived Hart like a wee bit. Like it was an okay goal. It was quite straightforward, on target, and then it's in. There wasn't really much to it by this point because I'm pretty sure it was there was only 2 minutes of injury time and it was at 91 and 28 seconds. So even me, who always sees the glasses half full, was like, even still, I was like, might be a bit much of an ask. So yeah, no. I mean, to be fair, it there was a good sort of red to finish from him as well, and maybe for him to personally, even though the game was gone, I guess it kind of was it gives him his the first goal and a chance to maybe progress on that because like we've said throughout the start of the campaign, he's not really hit the mark that we expected him to. So maybe this small addition can maybe help him in some sort of way. But yeah, I guess for Hearts themselves, I guess it kind of made the score like a tiny bit more respectable. And of course, not for yourself, but in general terms, I guess it kind of made it a bit more respectable. So, I feel that was all there was to talk about from the Celtic game. I'm just having a quick look on my phone to see if there was a statement from Robbie possibly after the game. I don't think.
What I'll do while you're looking that up, I'll sum up my final thoughts. I know you said that's all we've got to talk about, but
Yeah, I no, man. Please do.
this is the one thing that gets me, and I'm sure people will agree or disagree or whatever, but we were so flat and passive and defensive in that first half, and I think the issue with that is, and this is not me defending Robbie Neilson by any means, because I think he shat the bed again and played a defensive group of players, but
yeah,
I think, and I've said this before, that our squad is so thin in forward areas that all it takes is for Ginnelly to be ill for us to not use him and then not have anybody similar to just replace him,
yeah,
because I would have, without going over everything I've just said again, I wouldn't have complained if we played 5 at the back, but if Ginnelly and Gary Mackay-Steven and Boyce were up front, say, as even if we played, I don't know, a 3-4-1-2 like we've played before, with Boyce dropping in as that 10 and having Ginnelly and Gary Mackay-Steven up front. But we don't have enough players in forward areas that are similar. Even Boyce, we don't have another Liam Boyce.
Yeah.
We don't have a striker that plays that way. We don't have another Ginnelly. The alternative to Boyce is Nandule, and Nandule is not Liam Boyce by any stretch. They're totally different players. Ginnelly is a pacey winger that will beat people. We don't have anybody else that does that. And that, for me, I mean, the transfer window ends at the end of this month, so I think it's 2 weeks away-ish, give or take.
Pretty much.
We need to get players in that can do that, because we're a Liam Boyce injury or a Josh Ginnelly injury away from an absolute disaster, because we don't have anyone that does the jobs that they do.
Yeah, and
we've got three central midfielders. No, I was just about to say just the last thing before you say your piece, but we've got 3 central midfielders that all started today that are exactly the same kind of player, and I love them. Don't get me wrong. I adore Benny, Haring, Halliday. I think they're all very, very good, but Aaron McInnes is a player that looks up and finds a forward pass. And that's why I really, really hope that McKenna gets an opportunity, because with Cammy Devlin coming in, that's another midfielder that's going to come in and be competition for him. And I said it towards the end of last season, when not long after we started doing these, that I really like Aaron McAnuff. I think there's a player there, but he needs the chance. And I think today, although I didn't see his goal, and although his goal cost me 20 quid, I was actually very happy for him to score, because I'm like, that's good. Yeah. He needs that. He needs that boost. And yeah, it just highlights for me that our squad is very good, but we don't have good alternatives outside of the starting 11.
Absolutely not, man. Yeah, like you said, I think, like, for the main sort of roles that we have, like, you mentioned them, like, just now, like, sort of up, like, sort of in the forwards, like, sort of roles, like, it's the same as well. Like, if, like, God forbid, if Souter, like, sort of was injured as well, there's nobody there that can kind of take his role and do his as to what he can actually do. Like, so
exactly. Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, I'm not even asking for a Suitor, like an alternative to Suitor who's just as good. Like, if they have similar styles, I'd be delighted. And Ginnelly as well. We need another winger. Like, Robbie Nielsen has signed about 6 wingers since he's come back to Hearts, and 5 of them have been utter garbage. And then you look at Ginnelly and you go, right, you're the good one. Let's get another one like you. Let's try and find somebody else.
Yeah, man, exactly.
So we'll see. But that was my kind of wrapping up point from the game itself.
Definitely, mate. Well, just to kind of wrapped up section of the game, I have found what Robbie had to say via the BBC Sport. Pretty much essentially what we said. They couldn't get a foothold in the game in the first half, but I was really pleased with the second half after we changed shape and played with a bit more the belief. We scored the goals and had Celtic under pressure at times. I don't agree with that. We are really disappointed to be out of the cup, but we'll take the positives. There was only a very small amount of the positives from me personally, but I mean, I think there are the positives for individual the players, but as a team, I don't think there was much to to be the positive about. But there you go. It's all good. So
yeah, we move on to Aberdeen at Tynecastle.
What presentation of this podcast, so swiftly done. I love it. So yes, next Sunday we face Aberdeen at Tynecastle. What's your quick thoughts? I know this wasn't exactly on the agenda, which is terrible from us, but shocking, I know. How you feeling, because obviously they got put out by, was it Ayr today?
It was. I have honestly no idea. let me just tactically look it up.
Fucking hell, I was way off the mark. Fucking Reef Rovers, yeah, cunt.
And Dario Zanata scored the winner, of course. Aye.
There you go, because you said it, I know. You said it.
And Christoph Berra marshalled that defence to a victory.
No, he didn't.
Apparently he played all right.
Let's move on.
I think let's go. I think it's a very important game. No, I think it's a very important game. I think we need to bounce back from the disappointment of today. And if Robbie is saying that there's positives to take out of today, not sure what game he was watching, but I hope whatever positives there were to take out of today, we take them into the Aberdeen game. The other thing that is worth noting as well, the game was originally scheduled for the Saturday, but due to Aberdeen progressing in Europe, the game got moved to the Sunday. And Aberdeen are travelling away to Azerbaijan to play Karabag before they play us. I think it's like 3 days after. So there's an opportunity for us to hopefully try and take advantage of tired legs that they they may have. I would imagine they will have. You don't travel to Azerbaijan. I think I read somewhere it was like a 7,000 mile round trip for Aberdeen. That's what they're facing. So if there's any hint of tiredness from Aberdeen, we need to take advantage of that and hopefully get a good result. Obviously, looping back to what I said at the start, full house of fans, first time full house in a long time, and the fans will be expecting Hearts to win. That's the pressure that Robbie Neilson now has.
Absolutely, man. Well, on that note, I mean, I don't want to really use this game that we just played as the prime example, but I will do it anyway. What would you want to see in terms of how we go into the game next week? Would you be fine with setting up the same way, or are there certain the players that you would like to see starting? Or
I hope he goes back to the 3-4-3 to start with. I think when at Tynecastle, that's what we just need to do. Regardless of what Aberdeen do, it's not about the opposition. It's about us setting up in the right way. And I think, I want 3-4-3. Defense can stay as it has been, as we've seen it. Smith right back, Cochrane left back, the usual back three. Kingsley, Halkett, Suter for me. Midfield two. I don't know. I know
who. I know who.
Benny's a given. Benny's a given, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
And then, I don't know. Who would you put in there?
I would put in McAniff. I would look. We've both said that, both Halliday and Haring as well. They're both extremely good, but they're very similar players, right? Benny in itself, I'm not sure if I would class him as a the box to box, because he seems overall his game seems very defensive, sort of minded, but he's extremely good at it. So just to give us that more attacking options, was it why not? Because look, he's not started this season. I'm right in saying I don't think so. No. Was it why not? I mean, if it's to kind of build on his game with sort of personally as well, and to also again just kind of give us those attacking options. And he's said himself that he is a box mid as well. So so it might work, it might not. Maybe Robbie might want to stick to sort of the sort of tried and tested sort of the way to go about it. But again, I don't think we should be afraid to kind of be experimental, especially in that central midfield role, because we've got, I'm pretty sure it's the only part of the pitch that we're actually sort of quite at decaying, in terms of depth in the squad. So, I wouldn't go as far to say as for the Pollock. I don't think to start him against Aberdeen when it's a game that I wouldn't even go as far to say is that we have to win. I don't think there's any sort of question of that, because I think even this early in the campaign, as soon as the first, right or wrong, when that first defeat comes in terms of the league campaign, right or wrong, Robbie will hear it, and that kind of puts him at this advantage. Again, right or wrong, but I think a lot of Hearts fans are just trying to wait for that one excuse and that one first defeat to actually say, right now, you just know him. Go, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think he'll go with Halliday and Benny. To be honest, I think that's probably the midfield that he'll go. Benny, like you say, Benny is not really a forward-thinking kind of midfielder, but he's almost like a sideways kind of midfielder. He seems to just shuffle across the pitch. You know what I mean? And bloody good job at it, to be fair.
Oh yeah.
And then obviously the usual suspects up front because we've not got anybody else. Probably Gary Mackay, Stephen, Boyce, and Janelli. To be honest, that's pretty much
what do you know?
That's pretty much it. But yeah, I think, like you say, fans are forgiving today because of the league start that we've made, and a home tie against Aberdeen at Tynecastle. It is a must win because they are going to be one of the teams that are going to be in the top 3, 4, 5, So if we want to be in there as well, we have to win at home.
Exactly.
We've already taken advantage of the fact we played Celtic at home first game of the season when they were clearly not anywhere near the finished article. Celtic will get there. And I think people are having this meltdown about Celtic and saying, they're this, they're that. Celtic will finish second this season. I don't think they're going to win the league. But I mean, they might. I don't know. But the fact that we've already played them at Tynecastle and got 3 points is huge. Hibs play them at Easter Road. Celtic might be fully tuned and ready to go, and they might go and beat Hibs at Easter Road. They might go and beat Aberdeen at Pittodrie. We've already got 3 points off of them at Tynecastle, which is 3 points that teams that are competing against us might not get.
No, exactly.
And I think the Aberdeen situation with them coming to Tynecastle is exactly the same. It's important that we get points against teams that are going to be around us in the table. And I think Aberdeen will be around us in the table. So when we're at home, we have to take advantage of that, especially because away from home, we don't seem to be all that great.
No, we are a bit shite. So yeah, and we look forward to the last bit of the pod where the head-to-head of the predictions league between myself and Alan. There is a silver lining, even though he might have lost his £20 bet at the very last 30 seconds. He still managed to get 1 point on the board, which puts him only 1 point behind myself over my optimistic prediction at Celtic. So the score now stands at 3-2 to myself. So we will look ahead to the predictions next week against Aberdeen at home. So Alan, what are you thinking, man? What are you thinking?
2-0 Hearts.
2-0 Hearts, not a bad wee shout. And your scorers?
Gary Mackay, Stephen, and
don't you dare! I'm
going to get this on a t-shirt. I'm just going to get this on a t-shirt. I'm just going to stand up. Boise.
Oh, I didn't see that one coming. No, I didn't. So
I'm getting a t-shirt printed, just Boise written on the front of it. That's it. That's the next line of merchandise for the Since I Was Young podcast.
I'm gonna go for a 2-1 Hearts win. I've got a funny suspicion that Aberdeen will actually score. I'm going to go for the 2-1 Hearts win, and I'm thinking, I'm going to go for Boyce for 2 goals. I think I'm going to go
fair enough
for Boyce for 2 goals. So yeah, we would love to hear all your predictions on the Twitter page. As always, we will pop that up as well, and we would also love to hear what your views and what you took out of the game today at Parkhead as well. And we'll put some tweets up all throughout the week as well, because as always, we always love a bit of conversation with you guys as well that follow us. And so yeah, I think that kind of wraps up everything that we have to cover on the podcast today. So as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. And again, if you did like this episode of the Since I Was Young podcast, we are the Since I Was Young podcast, all things Heart of Midlothian, for news, chats, and debates. And if you are a fan, and more specifically a Hearts fan, think about subscribing and smash that like button as well. It is greatly appreciated as well. And if you want to get in touch with us through the socials, you can. We're on Facebook finally as well. We've got the big three. And nice one, Alan. Well done. Yeah,
cover all my bases.
Got it right this
cover
time.
all my bases.
Yeah, they got it right there. Yep, you can get in contact with us through all the main social media outlets: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at SIWY Pod. And you've got the email on screen and in the description as well, since I was young 1874 at gmail.com. And if you want to get in touch with us or just check out our pages as well, you can. Alan's Twitter page is in the description, as well as my football channel, What Ewan's Doing, on YouTube. So yes, that wraps us up officially for this episode. So Alan, always a pleasure, my man.
Yeah, absolutely. The first, I think, if I'm right in saying, this is the first defeat since we've started doing the podcast, so maybe we should just call it a day and go home.
Have we? I'm just gonna like it's not to actually prove you wrong. It's just like I'm sure we've had a defeat since we've started the podcast. Surely, no?
I don't think we have, because did we not start it towards the end of the championship season when we were winning all the time?
Yeah, and
I might be wrong.
And that's probably why we started it. It's like,
because we're winning all the time,
just to like avoid all of the chat as well. Let me see. I'm just seeing here.
Well, if it's the end of our
streak, you are actually right. Yeah, mate. You are actually right. So fucking hell,
that's the end of our streak.
We started this. That is officially the end of our streak. Thank you, Aaron McAniff. So yes, as always, guys, we will see you in the next episode. You take care now. Bye for now.